1812. Europe is basically Napoleon's empire, except for one stubborn holdout, Russia.
Who's left to humiliate?
Oh, right. Russia. We marching to Russia in spring. We conquer Moscow. We're home before the wine goes bad.
Napoleon decides to teach Tsar Alexander a lesson. He assembles the Grande Armée, over 600,000 men, only one-third French, the rest reluctant allies. Meanwhile, in St. Petersburg,
I won't make peace while any French invader remains on Russian soil.
Your Majesty, we must avoid fighting Napoleon directly. Trade space for time. Keep retreating and scorch the earth behind us. Burn the crops, empty the villages, deny the French supplies. Let hunger and exhaustion wear them down.
Alexander isn't thrilled about torching his own land, but he reluctantly agrees. Better to sacrifice space than lose the army. Napoleon, unaware of this plan, readies his mega army for a grand road trip into Russia. June 1812, go time. Napoleon's Grande Armée marches into Russia, but they immediately face a blistering hot summer. The advance bogs down. Blistering heat destroyed bridges and supply wagons miles behind. Within days, thousands of soldiers collapse from heat exhaustion. And typhus, spread by lice, ravages the army, putting about 80,000 men out of action by mid-July. It's true, no big battles because the Russians just keep retreating. As Napoleon pushes deeper, they stick to their scorched earth strategy, burning anything useful as they go. French foraging parties find nothing but empty villages and charred fields. No food, no fodder. Napoleon keeps advancing, but the Russians still won't stand and fight. And winter hasn't even hit yet. Tens of thousands of French troops are already dead from disease, hunger, and exhaustion without a single major battle. Finally, in September, Napoleon gets the big battle he's been craving. September 7th, 1812, Battle of Borodino. At last, a pitched battle. Russian Marshal Mikhail Kutuzov, now in command, decides to make a stand to defend Moscow. About 130,000 French clash with 120,000 Russians at Borodino. It's a bloodbath. Cannon, bayonets, cavalry charges, pure carnage. By nightfall, roughly 70,000 men are dead or wounded. It's one of the bloodiest one-day battles in history. Napoleon technically wins. He holds the field as Kutuzov withdraws, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. The French are too battered to pursue, and the Russian army slips away intact. On September 14th, Napoleon marches into Moscow expecting a grand triumph. Instead, he finds the city practically deserted. Moscow is eerily silent. Until that night when it suddenly bursts into flames. The city burns for days. The Russians have torched their own city rather than let Napoleon have it. Napoleon is stunned. Napoleon's hopes for a quick victory literally go up in smoke. Moscow gives him no glory and no supplies, and Tsar Alexander still won't surrender. Napoleon waits for a month, but no surrender comes, and winter is closing in. By mid-October, he cuts his losses and orders a retreat. His once mighty invasion force of 600,000 is now down to perhaps 100,000 men. Napoleon's retreat from Moscow begins under horrific conditions. He heads back the way he came, along the ravaged Smolensk road, now a wasteland with nothing to eat and nowhere to shelter. Then, the weather strikes. In early November, the first snow falls and temperatures plunge. For soldiers already weak, this is devastating. Grande Armée begins to freeze. Horses die by the thousands, men collapse from hunger and cold. Meanwhile, Russian Cossack cavalry and peasant partisans constantly harass the starving column, picking off stragglers. The French are too weak to fight them off. In late November, the survivors reach the Berezina River and face one last nightmare. The only bridge is destroyed and enemy troops are closing in. Desperately, Napoleon's engineers improvise makeshift bridges. Part of the army rushes across, but thousands of stragglers drown or are captured. It's a final catastrophe for the Grande Armée. By December, Napoleon's proud army is virtually gone. On December 5th, fearing a coup back home, Napoleon jumps into a sleigh, abandons his men and races back to Paris. At last, the frozen remnants of the Grande Armée limp out of Russia. Of over 600,000 invaders, only about 100,000 made it out alive. In half a year, Napoleon's Grande Armée was destroyed, his aura of invincibility shattered, and Europe was stunned. The failed 1812 invasion goes down as one of history's greatest military blunders.